I know. You're here, my queen. I thought you were gone. I never thought we would get to spend this time together. But here you are. Hello, everybody. That's right. We had the new patch. There's lots to talk about. We never thought this would happen for us. We thought it was over. But here we are, with so many things to talk about. Join me. MSQ is back!
Oh my god. Hey, that was a great joke. It was a runny.
Back!
Were you
Oh my
expecting
god,
that?
dude. Oh, after the main MSQ, we were all like, I know some of you loved the main MSQ, all of parts of it. I love the second half. But now we're like asking questions, and that's what FF14's story is all about. Leaving you with like, I need the next bit. I need it now. And after the main MSQ, I wasn't really feeling that. I was like, I wonder what they're going to look at. That was the feeling I was left with. It's like, I wonder what's next. So we're going to talk about more about.
The feeling I was left with was depression. Yeah. I think I actually got depressed for at least a month, where I remember at one point someone asked me, hey, when are you going to share with us your thoughts on the Dawn Trail story? And I said something like, as soon as I'm done with this story, we will never speak of it again. But I will get the review out, hopefully this week. We are working on it, so it's fine. But there was a good bit when I just did not want to talk about it anymore. It's just, it was so hard for me.
That's raw.
I'm glad he enjoyed the second half. Unfortunately, I'm not among the lucky people who were able to enjoy the second half. It's like, it's kind of a gamba of which person, like which category you're going to fall into. If you're really lucky, you'll be a person who likes the whole damn thing. If you're half lucky, you might like the second half. If you're bun lucky like me, you're going to just suffer the whole time.
Maybe we're going to do the port key, but probably not.
I liked the Texas part.
Zem symbols on it. I've got some questions, I've got some feelings about where we might go. Maybe we're just going to leave this shard and fly off to the 9th or do something like that, a complete 180. But what they decided to do was exceptionally good with one really big bad bit, which we'll get to, which I really didn't like.
I know what you're talking about.
Before we get to that, though, super important. There's only a few days left of Displate's massive Black Friday sale. This is not a sponsored video, but we do want to let you know that our wonderful in-house artist, Mr. Chris, has been slaving away and has painted these wonderful pictures for you.
Chris is painting for Displate?
To have, in celebration, of course, of the Ultimate, which is going on right now with a Race to World First, with futures rewritten. Gaia,
damn, way to go, Chris. It looks great.
Green, all tucked up there, looking beautiful. And my personal favorite, of course, is a tribute to living memory.
Oh my god.
You can see, we suggested this.
Where does Chris find the time to do all this shit? Isn't he also editing this video?
Meetings like, you know what we should have? We should have Steiner / Otis in there.
I think they have multiple editors on their staff.
Otis that has the Steiner hat on. We've got Kryl on there. We've got Erenville on that Wonder Golden City.
How do you have time to do all this painting?
All waiting for you. But it's the biggest deal ever you're going to get in the year right now with their Black Friday sales.
So
a few days left. But don't worry, even if you don't catch that one when you watch this video, our personal code, we work with Displate for years. We'll still give you an enormous discount on your Displate. So
I want a Displate of Xenos' big, you know, I want him to be looking behind him and just his gigantic juicy booty. You know, in that outfit that's very juicy. It would be even better if it says juicy on the butt.
So check those out. It is site-wide, so even if you don't want to pick up one of our new ones, all our old ones are there, and maybe you can pick anything else off the website and get those massive discounts. All right, guys? So check out Displate. The link down below.
That's what I want.
But it's been a whole mess of questions and theories, and I immediately, after finishing the MSQ, I just DM'd Jesse Cox. I was like, dude, have you seen? And he goes, I've seen. I was like, dude. And he just said, dude. It's like, oh yeah, it's back on. All right.
You're so real for that. That's what I say.
Let's jump into it. Let's talk about our thoughts and feelings here.
Dude.
Obviously, what we know from the pre-media tour that I went on is that Yoshi P was quite clear. Is like, yo, the main MSQ when we're starting, We're just going to throw stuff out there, like shotgun it out there, and then we're going to take the threads that you guys have picked up on. Maybe you're not too interested, and that's how we're going to manipulate things into the future a little bit. But of course, we're not...
That was really concerning to me when he said that.
The stuff that we're dealing with in 7.1...
When Yoshipi... I was there at the same event, and Yoshipi was like, well, we'll see how players react to it, and then we'll go from there. Because we've got, like, plan A, B, C, D, E, and F. We got a bunch of plans depending on how players react. And I felt concerned by hearing this as a because I thought, well, so you guys don't, like, you didn't actually map this out, did you? You're just going to go based on how people... That's kind of crazy to me that they don't have, like, a long-term roadmap for... what should happen
is going to be the stuff that was already kind of predetermined.
Yeah, it's a big ship to just wing it. That's right.
Some changes, and we know those changes have happened because they literally went back and re-recorded some voice lines for the main MSQ. We know that Wukelmat re-recorded Sphene. Also, Y'shtola went back and...
Oh, I haven't heard the new version. So apparently they did re-record Sphene.
Re-recorded some lines because apparently there was some issues with some health issues or something and scheduling. So her voice recording was very poor.
Yeah.
So they've gone back and changed that. And no doubt added in some more elements that they could put into where the future of Dawn Trail is going.
That's good.
And the future seems pretty goddamn bright so far. The first element that we got teased in the trailer during the live letter was, of course, the problem with the people of Solution 9 and the fact that they are essentially toddlers. They are baby children who have not been taught by their parents, like, don't put your hand in fire, don't, look both ways when you cross the street, all those things, and are now dealing with death. I mean, I have 2 kids. Those kids have had to deal with, sadly, death.
Okay, but problem is that there are a bunch of people that were from Tehran that got in the dome that definitely know about death. So, there should be a good bit of people there that could have let them know about that, even if every other person had their regulator on 24/7, which we're told when we get there that they don't always have, like, it's not mandatory to have the regulator plugged into your head. You can take it off. You're not required to wear it. So the people that weren't wearing it, wouldn't they? To me, I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy that not a single person understands this.
It happens. Death happens to people that you know, and it's something that people deal with from a very young age. Hopefully, you go as long as you can without having to encounter such a scenario, but it happens. And that you grow with this, and you do.
This was also weird. Nobody was sitting. There was no chairs. They were just awkwardly standing in this
with
huge
a knife,
space.
Bad idea. These people have never really had that mega concern because if they die, they just come back with the regulators, and it's not a big deal. So they've lived this carefree and very risky lifestyle in some cases, with like the hunters that are outside Solution 9 have like been out doing these massive tasks. And
actually, I think that's a good opportunity for some interesting story that they could tell later on. Like, have some of these people that are from Alexandria, we meet them, like they leave and they come to Tehran, they come to other parts of the world, and they are crazy risk takers. They're all like doing stunts, doing just absolutely insane shit all the time because they have no fear of death at all. Like, I think that could be pretty interesting.
Fine. That's
if
totally
they work
fine,
with
right?
that.
And we saw a little bit of like people chasing extra regulated charges and all those kinds of things. But generally speaking, these people have never known loss, sorrow, despair. Hello, me too. They should meet.
Okay, but okay. Don't bad things still happen to them? They should still experience despair and sorrow, okay? Because there's other bad things that can happen besides dying. There's a kid that was sick. Dying isn't the only bad thing that there is.
Easy on. Hello. You've never met despair.
I am despair. I just feel like it's very simplistic.
To come along, and now they're dealing with it.
You're not supposed to overthink this.
We had the funeral, which was kind of funny
in that they weren't really sure what to do. I loved that. It's like, I don't know what we do here. And we think it's got to be like this. And we're all stood in line like, do we stand in formation like an army? I don't know.
Oh, you think that's why they were standing around awkwardly in a huge space with no chairs? Because they have no idea how to do. I mean, that's okay. All right.
And then random
I don't know
people
what to do.
came up in a random order
Okay, yeah.
to
I mean,
place a flower on Sphene's grave. And the guy was just like, they just walked off like, I don't know what I just did. Like, I loved all these aspects of people like trying to muddle through this entirely unprecedented scenario that they're now dealing with. And I thought it was a really nice touch of having Wu Klamat in her still naivety of, I see a problem, I go fix.
it doesn't retroactively remove memories of people that you knew who died before you were there. Okay.
Right? She sees a nail and she's a hammer. And she goes for it. And she approaches the child, which this whole scene I thought was great. Of Wu Klamat, like, you know, trying to teach her about they live on in your heart and all these kind of things. And the kid was like, I don't buy it. This sucks. This just really, really sucks. And you, as the viewer, you're like, yeah, death really sucks. It really, really sucks. It's grim. And then what was even better is the child turning to a parent for answers. And of course, children do that. My children do that. Because parents are the gods of your world when you're a child, hopefully, for the most part. And they have all the answers. And this parent's like, I'm just... As you can see, the animation was actually done really well here. Shout outs to Hildebrand's probably influence here and what they can do with the facials. Is the parent came across as like, I just don't have the answers. And I kind of have your mentality as a small child. I still feel the same way. All the people reminded me of drug addicts, actually, with the almost feeling of like, can I just get one more memory loss? You know, like scratching, just one more, because this really sucks. Just one more to get me through the day. Just one more.
But they did get one more. Right. I honestly, I kind of, how can I put this? I did not feel anything during this. I did not feel any emotions during the funeral. I didn't feel like I hated it. I didn't feel like I loved it. I just felt like it was happening.
More memory loss. Let me just.
But I'm glad that maybe it's because he can relate better. He has a kid. He understands this dynamic of like explaining stuff to a child.
About this, and it's a great line. Like, are we just supposed to be sad forever?
I didn't connect with it.
No, I was kind of hoping that they would have recommended maybe some therapists from Taral, maybe, you know, some counselors, grief counselors, something like that. It must exist somewhere in society.
Yeah, they do need that. They do need the therapist.
Maybe introduce them, which kind of is what's going on. Is they're trying to
maybe some of the people that live there that remember death
and need the prompt to get on with things, right? Because the train isn't working and people can't move freely between the bubble and the rest of Taral.
It's also kind of like the game itself contradicts itself because there are side quests and there's like I just did was it a side quest? Yeah, it was one of the ether currents takes you to a graveyard and there's a bunny boy taking care of the graveyard and you can see that there's some people that remember death and feel like this is an important rite. And there's like a village of people in Heritage Found that are said to be more traditionalists that you learn about in the sightseeing log. And these people are like not so much all about the embracing new technology. So clearly those people are around, but then in the funeral area, they didn't exist conveniently.
At the train side. We had to deal with, of course, Baby Jar Jar, the new king, and the origins
Okay, I love Baby Jar Jar.
of his mother. Now,
Baby Jar. He's so cute.
I'm not super invested in this, although it was...
I actually love him, okay?
good, right? I can appreciate it's good. I'm just not super invested. The dungeon was phenomenal. The actual outcome to the storm at the end is mwah. It was chef's kiss. And it was right up there with FF14's wonderful ability to change your environment throughout dungeons and throw the unexpected at you, right? Whoa!
Oh, yeah. What? It reminded me of an Elden Ring. Faramazula, or whatever it's called. I got flashbacks. That was cool. Yeah.
What the F is going on here? We had that through Dawn Trail as well. We go through Dead Baby Caverns and come out into the Golden Technology World, and you're like, what the hell is happening here? And we had that same effect here. Wonderful. I love
that's always
the use of the research notes throughout the dungeon to add context to the level of experimentation that was going on here with the Jar Rule and what they were trying to achieve. and mixing beasts, and even the people who were in such dire straits that they were kind of volunteering to just become
Is he gonna notice that thing at the end
beasts
with the bunny?
forever, right? Because otherwise they would all die and they were going to lose. That was the threat they were under. All those kind of things were really nice. The dungeon, I thought, was
Is he gonna mention
excellent. And I did like that they had sections where you could just kind of explore and gain more knowledge, more lore, more background on what's going on here.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
The origins of the mother was, I mean, it's just so desperately sad. And they did reveal to old baby Jar Jar is like, you know what? Your mum was kind of a freak.
She was.
I don't know how anybody else took this, but his mum was kind of a thirsty
Yeah, she was.
freak, a stalker, the classic sort of cliche nice girl. As somebody who has known plenty of women who are like this, who
Oh my God.
just don't see boundaries anywhere, really, and they'll just like stare from across the room, and they'll be like trying to get into your life somehow.
She
Go
got.
over there,
She
please.
wanted it.
Despite the fact that, like, I'm just not interested whatsoever. It was kind of interesting. She got the payoff at the end, and it was all gonna fix it. If we have a baby, you'll love me and blah blah blah. No.
Yeah, that was
he was
weird.
very clear about it. He still got his end away.
That was super weird.
It's a kind of a typical guy flavor going on there, I suppose.
I can fix him.
And then having the child, he was like, oh my god.
Yes.
No. I've got daddy issues up the wazoo, baby. Like, I am not dealing with this. And then telling the baby is like, yeah, essentially you were like kind of not wanted by anybody, and you were used and bartered by a mother, and you're like, wow. Grim. But again, good storytelling.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect him growing up, right? How's it going to affect his leadership to know that?
Look, are we not going to address the fact that he's like surprised that he made a baby? What? Zeralja, it seemed like that was his first time finding out that this is how baby made. He was like, what? Raising a child from I don't understand. Know how sex works. It's really how it came off to me. He is like losing it.
That's his origins. That's the real question, right? Yes, it's super
Okay.
grim.
You don't
but
know
what
how
is the
baby
effect
made.
of this? This is a child who's like the most unwanted child in the world in some ways, and
He's
now
shocked.
he's supposed to lead people.
Okay.
Okay. I imagine there'll be some knock-on effects to this in the future. Maybe even 3 or 4. This is one of those things that I could see in like 3 or 4 expansions time when the Dawn Trail saga reaches its sort of Shadowbringers Endwalker pinnacle. This kind of becomes a thing. So keep your peepers open on that one.
You didn't notice the bunny, did you?
I guess I have no choice, really, to talk about the bit of this MSQ that I'm pretty sure was
Oh my god, he didn't mention the bunny. I have to tell you then.
done long before the MSQ came out, or was part of it, because it was addressing a glaring hole.
Okay, I think he's moving on. That means yeah. Let me see if I can pull this up for you. Yeah. Okay. I hate to be the person to tell you this, but I have to. Someone has to tell you as part of the discussion about this boss. Here's a picture of the dungeon boss. Now, if you look closely, you might notice that this boss has some familiar features. There is some braids on the right side. There's some gold tint at the end of the braids. So people are suggesting that it seems a little too familiar for some of us who remember Because that's very specific choices for them to make, don't you think? Yeah. Braids on the right side with that specific color and gray coloring of the, yeah. That's, doesn't seem random to me. Yeah. It's really sad if that is the case. Gray-haired rabbit, braids on the side, can't be. Could be a nothing burger. It could be writers adding more salt into Alexander's husband from the 7.0 main story. Kefkiwa's death is left as a mystery. There's a minion that drops from this dungeon. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's the minion that drops from the dungeon. Uh-huh. Clearly, you're at a complete loss as to the identity of the virile, gentle rabbit who stands before you, is the quote. It's kind of, I don't know, just something to think about. I thought that was pretty concerning and strange that they would do that, but that's up to you to figure out what that means, if anything. I'll leave that to you to decide.
In the Dawn Trail MSQ story. And I brought it up many, many times, is like how annoyed I was that we had a clear opportunity for conflict with Koana and Wuklamat in dealing with the natives of Shaloni.
Conflict?
Of course this is an issue.
We can't have that.
On the one hand, we have the empathetic, completely in touch with the people and the environment Wuklamat, who wants happiness and joy for everyone, and the technological progress-minded Koana, who's like, stick a railway across the whole continent. Boo-hoo, baby, choo-choo to progress, right?
Yeah, but he's not really like that. I wish if he were more like what you're describing, then that would have probably been more interesting. But he's actually not. He is not completely against peace. He is also wants people to be happy. He wants the same things, only he also has a practical plan to achieve those things.
And then he got the locals who are like, bro, you're like completely destroying our ecosystem. Like, this is not good. We can't deal with this. And then they just left it alone during the MSQ. Obviously, because they plan to come back to it later. And
even Aaronville checks this little kid who starts spreading some bullshit about Koana. And Aaronville's
Alexander
actually...
says this is starting to sound like my Goldsmith equals Sphene theory because of the fact they share a hair color.
Oh, you think? I mean, maybe there's nothing to it. You know, like I said, it's up to you to decide. Aaronville's like, he's not nearly as bad as they make him out to be. There's just, that might be a grain of truth to his, but it's, yeah, Aaronville, he's in here checking.
Give us the Koana origin story.
My man.
Okay. At first, obviously, as somebody who wanted this whole...
Oh, yeah, Aaronville got a new outfit. Maybe that's the reason that I really didn't even mind this part about the running. Everybody else had a huge issue with. I was having such a good time in this area. And now I remember why. It's because I was too distracted by Aaronville's bicep.
To be filled was very excited. I was like, oh, cool. We're going back here. That's how I started. And
Look at that. After the V-neck.
It fell into a little bit of a cliche and most stuff where we're the warrior of light. We are a literal nuclear weapon. And we kind of need to go and brush some cows and deal with it. But also, we're learning about culture. It is the theme of Dawn Trail. So I'm like, okay. And Kona's like, I want to find out about my people because I was whisked off to Sharlayan. I am highly educated and I am not with this sort of nomadic system that my origins are. That's where I came.
Whisked off to Sharlayan. He went to Sharlayan of his own accord. After he had been working as a shopkeep in Tuliolol for some time, after he had been found by the Pelu merchant.
I came from the dust, but I didn't experience that. I was abandoned as a baby.
He was abandoned.
Can I just take a moment to maybe let's talk about it first, because I'm so annoyed by this. As I'm sure many of you are, who just went, what is happening here? So we're there for a few hours, right? Let's call it a day to be nice. And Koana has fallen massively in love with the cows, like to the point that he would sacrifice his life for a single cow in the face of an oncoming dinosaur unstoppable beast with a shell of adamantium. And he would gladly give up his entire life as Dawn's servant, co-leader of all the people who rely on him to save the cow. A noble cause, sure, but a little extreme, Koana, after an afternoon of picking up Ronique shit and learning that they make soap.
After an afternoon of picking up Ronique.
Part of it. Rough, but I mean, I did like the ties, like the Polynesian culture of like how reliant they were on the coconut tree to provide everything for their society, and I totally got it. I totally understood where we're coming from. I'm not knocking any of the cultural sides that happen here at all.
Okay, look, here's what they were trying to get across with this story. They were trying to show that Koana has become influenced by Wuklamot by being braver and maybe a little dumber, and then Wuklamot was influenced by Koana by being more informed about what is going on. Like, I remember we got there and Wuklamot's like, oh, right, the migration patterns of the Ronique are being affected by these railroad tracks. And I remember thinking, what the okay, so that she learned things, she got smarter, and Koana might have gotten a little dumber. So that's how they're going to work together to be good leaders for. So he even said something really on the nose, like, I have the resolve. And then she said something like similar but opposite, like about how she has the, it was very on the nose that this is what you're meant to get across. He's a little bit more braver and he has the resolve to protect.
It was the investment Koana had was a little sudden. Let's put it that way.
It was sudden.
But it didn't end there, did it?
It was sudden.
No, it didn't. So we had a relatively okay scenario. It was very healthy. It had some interesting elements to it. They've nailed the sort of one-on-one scenarios that you have throughout Dawn Trail so far, even in Walker. Like they've really done a good step up, ever since Shadowbringers actually, of the one-on-one scenario.
Honestly, this lock and load thing was really sick. That was
engaging,
awesome.
It was fun. Wasn't over too quick. You weren't like crazy or overpowered or too easy. There was ways to die. I like it. That was very, very cool. It was just a bit sudden with it was almost Hildebrandish with the leaping in front of the cow. I was like, well, that's a bit much, Koana. But then we got the bit that I think for many of us, I don't think I'm alone in this one, where this story just went off a cliff and seemingly for no reason whatsoever. It was a lot that happened very quickly, which is the origins of Koana. And the beginning of this entire little arc, a segment of the story, this chapter, was Koana explaining that he was abandoned as a child, and the people, the locals being like, well, that's really weird. We don't do that. It's like, yeah, I was abandoned as a child. And then moving on to later, as we find out this huge incident that happened with this rampaging monster that tore through the tribes and terrified them and ripped it to pieces, and people were dying left and right. It was like a massacre. It was like it was an actual like big event that happened, and word spread throughout all the tribes of this awful incident that happened. And we find out that both Koana's parents valiantly abandoned their child and leapt in front of the rampaging monster. Now, this is what pulled me out of it at first, right? And maybe many of you can't relate to this, but I know of the many mothers that I now know in my life, my kids go to school and blah, 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 blah. If there was such an incident as some sort of beast roaming the streets, I know for a fact that all of them mothers would take those children and be the fastest people on the world to be out of there. The dads, on the other hand, and maybe this is a misogynistic take, but it's what I see with my eyes, would be pushed.
Okay.
You get in front. It'd be like the Titanic. Women and children, off the boat. Lads, get in there. You're replaceable. Get stuck in and you...
Actually, that's actually a good point. I didn't think about that. Like, why would both of them choose to sacrifice themselves when one of them could have taken the child and run away? That's...
throw
Yeah.
your soul in front of it. I don't know many mothers who would be like, this takes both of us to run in front of this and
Right.
distract
Yeah,
it.
that actually doesn't
It's
make any sense.
Rather than Jeff Goldblum, like, hey, I'll do it. That's now I was like, I just don't
That's
see
a solid point.
a mother and father both abandoning their newborn baby with a whole village around them. They weren't on their own, and not one of them distracting and one of them away. But either way, that pulled me
Okay,
out of
yeah.
it. And then we got the ridiculous revelation of like, well, where was this? Where were you abandoned? And like, wait, that's where this thing happened. Let's just look at it from a different perspective.
I was left behind as a babe. One of many sacrifices necessitated by a nomadic lifestyle, I assume.
Oh, where did that happen? I kind of feel like that's how that conversation would have gone when the people found out that Koana was abandoned. Either way, I did not like it. I think it was totally unnecessary. It was over the top.
That's true.
And it was a stark reminder of more of the original Dawn Trail MSQ, where they were just like, just to make sure you get this point, we're going to take the sledgehammer, which is called the point, and we're going to smash your skull in until you get it, right?
Yeah. Rather than following how humans would normally react in those situations and putting yourself into the minds of the people that are interacting with each other and the conversations that are being had. Instead, it's like, here's the point that needs to be made, and everything is just a contrivance on the way to this ham-fisted point. And that's why, like, it's been difficult for a lot of people to connect with. I mean, because you're meant to think, oh, we're being told now, after we've seen him heroically stand in front of the cow, now we learn that his parents did the same thing, and oh, isn't he just like them? That they did that, and they were brave, and he's brave, and so he was brave all along, just like it's like it's like whenever you try to start at the end and then go backwards from there, rather than progress through a story naturally in ways that would make sense and that would resonate with people.
It reminded me very much of that, rather than what else was happening. But thankfully, we got to forget all about it, because the end,
Yeah, now I want to watch Carmen.
the end of the post MSQ part 1, whatever you want to call it, was everything we wanted, because it actually bothered me. I mentioned it in a few videos. I've talked about it a lot on stream. It did bother me that Sphene was gone. Now, I understood the context, so I kind of dismissed it, because, you know, she deactivates everything. We go to, like, the memory core and all that kind of thing. However, my gut feeling was, there is no way in hell the people who created Solution 9, who created Sphene, right, would not account for the fact that absolutely accidents happen. And she's an android, right? And they would be, she would, at some point, there'd be an electrical surge, a panel failure, an electrope overcharge, or just tripped and fell. Someone pushed her, someone threw her over a banister or something like that, and she would become damaged in some way. And they would never, ever allow the queen to be gone or dead. And they must have either warehouses full of replacement Sphenes, or some automatic protocol that if Sphenes becomes damaged or whatever in some way, is immediately replaced. Similar like we saw with a lot of the androids in the main MSQ, is that immediately is replaced in some way. Similar to the regulators, right? And there is a seamless, at least to the perspective of the public, that Sphene is unharmed and is fine and everything is kosher and we're all cool. And I was like, I wonder, I kind of feel like they're going to stumble. My initial thought was, because I did buy into the fact that they shut down the you know, we do EX and we did EX3, which was fantastic, is that she was gone. But I kind of wondered if we stumble on like a warehouse full of Sphenes or something along those lines. And as soon as we started making steps towards whatever the ruckus was in Solution 9, I was like, Sphene's back. And lo and behold, that little smiley face reared its head once again. This was great. I was like, this is cool, because they're trying to, again, like the drug addicts, they're in the withdrawal now, and they're dealing with the fact that they're terrified to even move. These toddlers are like now seeing the world as almost built of barbed wire and razor blades, where it was once a nice, soft, cushy home. You could almost look at it if you've played BioShock.
But they still have the regulators. Okay. Regulators are still working. So, like, what has... we shut down the living memory, but people still have these things, and I seriously doubt that they're going to want to get rid of them anytime soon. Like,
where you momentarily look through the eyes of a little sister. I don't know if Chris can find that.
I'm at a point though that I don't think I can continue to try to make sense of what I'm seeing. That's how I kind of felt at the end of 7.1, and through a lot of it, especially with regulator shit. All that shit is extremely convoluted, and it's better if I just don't overthink it too much. I just started to get to a point where I'm like, okay, well, she's back. Okay.
Scene. Try and put that in here because the world of Rapture is dangerous and destructive and full of monsters, yet from the eyes of the little sisters, it's a beautiful, lavish, soft, cushioned palace. It's a really good contrast. And now these people are having the reverse effect of like their once safe, comfortable home is now horrible. And then she comes back and she's going to take care of you all. And she's found the solution. You don't need to live in fear. We're all going to become...
Another thing that really bothered me a lot, as someone that has recently gone through a horrible loss and experiencing death, and I'm grieving right now, hearing people say shit like, please, won't you free us from the terrible memories of the departed? This makes no sense to me, and I cannot relate to it at all. Not even a little bit can I relate to this, because as someone who's grieving, the memories are the most precious thing that I have. And if somebody even suggested like having some way to remove these memories from my brain, like, to me, that is unbelievably cruel and horrible. That's so much worse than carrying this pain. And the fact that that isn't even addressed at all in the story makes it completely impossible for me to relate to it.
Take care of you all, and she's found the solution. You
Like,
don't
I
need to
just
live in fear.
don't-
We're all going to become endless. You'll never have to worry about these things again.
This is
And
horrific.
that's literally like taking
To
withdrawing
me.
crack addicts and giving them heroin on the back end of it. And they're all like, yeah, dude.
For some people, the pain is too much. They'd rather numb it or forget it. I just don't think... Maybe there's people not like me who would want to numb it or forget it. But I cannot believe that everyone would feel that way. I can't. That doesn't make any sense. Not every single person,
as we look-
without exception.
Con, I was wondering here. So we got two theories, two main theories. There's like three.
I don't know. I just feel like if you're going to deal with these themes that are heavy, like grief, death, loss, memory loss, all these things, if you're going to deal with it, you need to deal with it in a mature way. And I don't feel like Dawn Trail has succeeded at that. I feel like they have handled this in an unbelievably simplistic and childish way that I honestly find a little offensive.
Maybe four that are flying around that have substance. There's
That's
two
the
ones that I'm
reason
buying
I'm
into.
just-
One of them I'm definitely more leaning to because the
I decided to just not think about it as much.
breadcrumbs kind of fall
I'm waiting for them to move on to just something else entirely.
in that direction. But let's do the one I don't think it is, but I kind of wanted it to be. Is that Solution 9 is essentially alive. And yes, while Sphene is the face and the queen, behind the scenes, there is an AI that actually controls everything and runs the city. Not as like a malicious creature and a malicious being or anything, but it just has simple protocols. And as a sci-fi nerd, this very much drew me to, if you've seen it, and I recommend you do watch it, 2001: A Space Odyssey with HAL 9000. It's just a computer, but it's got protocols. And it follows those protocols. And then one of the things in the movie is that it's fed conflicting protocols.
Yeah.
And what happens when a computer, especially one with an AI that functions and controls your environment and everything else, starts having conflicting issues? Can't do living memory anymore. That was the primary goal. Sphene is gone. We need to replace Sphene. How do we solve this problem? And is this AI the one that has been programmed to adapt Sphene's programming to achieve the overall goal, right? Because we have to surmise, and have surmised ever since the MSQ.
I actually think that's a very interesting question that he's asking, and I think it is rich for storytelling potential if they can capitalize on it. I do, like I've said, well, I don't know if it's in my review video. It's not ready yet, but in that I did say that Sphene, I do think the concepts for Sphene is very cool. Like, and it's very relevant to modern questions that we have today with the with AI becoming more advanced as time goes on, you have this AI that's built on a real person, but lacks a lot of the human traits that that real person had that would have counterbalanced some of the cruelty that a pure AI might have. Like that, a pure AI might not have the mercy and compassion and understanding that a real person would have had. And those are things that are not easy to program into an AI. And I think that's very interesting. So he's asking the question of, now that we have this new AI, how is it going to cope with having to solve this problem? What kind of weird shortcuts is it going to take to force an outcome that it is programmed to seek? I think that's awesome. And I hope that the writers are asking themselves the same questions as they are looking into 7.2 and beyond.
Came out is that the Sphene that we know from the main MSQ is nothing like the original Sphene, because of course she's changed. She can change her own program, as we see at the end of the MSQ. She can modify her protocols and things. She can change it to suit the situation. So how many generations has that AI been modified and changed from the original? We're coming back to that in a second. So I was wondering if Solution 9 is now essentially haywire. And is just doing its best and has now produced this Sphene. However,
that's
I said
cool.
to myself as we were walking away from the conversations, like, if she turns and sort of grimaces and smiles or gives that look over to the Scions, then there's more at play here than that. And it cut back, and she wasn't. She was just addressing the people. I was like, if she's just addressing the people, this is more of a robotic following orders kind of thing. But then the look happens and that smile happens.
How did you know that would happen?
Oh, I thought we'd get the side eye. The side eye would have been a nice little touch there. Oh, wait. There it is.
Oh my
There
god.
it is.
He actually predicted that this would happen. I don't know if that's good. Dude, I don't know if it's good. He actually predicted it should do the little smile to let you know, hey, in case you didn't get it yet, this is bad. And sussy.
There it is. So I was like,
Thank you. I couldn't tell.
Bitch. There's something going on. There's something going on, which then led to the revelation of another Sphene existing in living memory. Now, I think we're all on the same track here that this is the original. And whatever happened in the past with Otis trying to protect her and she was dead is that she wasn't dead. But similar to what we've done in humanity, is like people freezing themselves until a cure for their disease or whatever can be found. It's like they managed to save her, but they kept her alive, so they always had the original, either to create fresh ones for eternity or whatever, but they kept her in some sort of stasis so that they always had the base version, because it's just better than copies of copies of a copy of a copy. That kind of situation. And because everything got shut down and living memory's done and the mission is quote-unquote over, it's released the original.
What?
And she's now out and about. And for going forward here, even though they're probably not going to use this, I'm going to refer to what we think is the original Sphene as Garnet. Although they might go with Dagger, because Dagger is a name that Garnet adopts in FF9. It's not a real name. A real name is Garnet, and she says, call me Dagger. So they might go with Dagger, because it's also cool, like Zero. Gobbets. They might go with Dagger. So I'll just refer to her as Dagger. Dagger and New Sphene, right? New Sphene is the second one. And we should, in either scenario, we're going to have this cool conflict, I think, which is New Sphene with whatever motivations and who's causing that behind it, either an AI or preservation, which is the other theory, and the original Dagger, who is like...
I think it's preservation.
Like, this is absolutely not what I wanted for my people. This is not... I mean, we might end up with civil war where they're like, wait, what are you saying? You're the original? Yeah, it's like, yeah, I was in Alexandria. I led you. I was your original queen. Whatever this is not...
But the original died. Like, there's no evidence up to this point that she had been cryogenically frozen or preserved in any way. Like, she's dead. She's very dead. If they were to do this, it would be... Honestly, they might.
Not what I wanted for my people,
you know what?
at all. And like, this could be a really... God write it well, a super interesting situation that is forming between these two. The other obvious theory then, I just mentioned it, is that preservation is running this. With the shutdown of living memory and the reduction of all the safety protocols, is they've managed to get a signal through. And are now like, oh, so this would be dealing with the people who killed Kryle's parents, and they are now looking to form an army of Endless and to be more malicious and vicious. And the big prevailing theory, which I kind of like, maybe, is that preservation is actually led by Ascians. And because we know there's still
Oh,
major
no.
Ascians out there, we've talked about this in every video, that
Oh no! I bet they will do that. Oh my god! I bet that would be. That I would be so annoyed, honestly. I think that's actually the most annoying outcome that could happen.
out there, and they may be
Not
in
Ascians.
preservation.
No, dude.
And now
please.
this manipulation is coming back all the way back to the source. And they found this connection the
Don't.
way through, all those kind of things. So that
Don't you think Ascians would have a problem with how they are dry cleaning souls so that all the echoes are like all the colors of souls are gone so you can't identify which convocation member fragment that was? Don't you think they wouldn't like that? Like that would have an issue with the bleaching souls so that it can't have echoes anymore. No scars, nothing left, just a blank piece of paper. Okay.
that's where we're at. But needless to say, guys, we are just left with so many questions, so many theories.
Oh my
I'm
god.
sure you've
I
got
hope
a
not. Oh
million
my god.
of
I can't even think about that. I'm just gonna get mad.
them. So I'd love to hear them. All right, guys?
Okay, did
What
you
an
like
exciting
it?
time. Dawn Trail seems to be back. It's doing everything we want from FF14. And whatever's coming
Oh
for
my
us next,
god.
finding out if it's preservation, finding out if it's an AI gone rogue, who knows?
Who knows?
But I'll tell you one thing. Me and Milk is here. We're going to be right there with you. See you again.
Thank you for this video, Mike. I did enjoy it quite a bit. That was fun. I especially like milkers. Here's a link to the video. I continue to have a pretty difficult time with this expansion story, but that doesn't mean that we can't enjoy the game. There are still plenty of things to enjoy in the game besides story, because story doesn't even really last you that long in the grand scheme of things. Most of the time we spend in this game is spent doing other stuff, like leveling, doing content, dungeons, raids, trials. Hell, maybe you might even want a solo Palace of the Dead. All these options are available to you. Times when you don't even have to worry about any of this, plot holes. Doesn't matter. One thing I can say, after watching this video, I remembered what is my absolute favorite part of 7.1. And without a doubt, it was seeing Erenville in that sexy new outfit. I realized, I think that's actually... I couldn't quite put my finger on it before. But I thought to myself, wow, I mean, I didn't love 7.1, but there was one part I really liked, but I can't quite remember why. It was in Texas. It was in the Texas area. Was it Koana defending that cow? I mean, that was a pretty sweet thing for him to do. But there was something else that happened there that I just loved. So now I know what it was. What could it be? Here is the link to the video. Definitely go and give him a sub and a like. He is... it's so fun to see him doing the Final Fantasy XIV content when I have been a big fan of Mike's for years and years and years. Watching his WoW videos before I even started doing YouTube and Twitch myself. And so now it's just such a joy to see him playing another game that I really love. He's always fun to watch.